Hello everybody, this is chapter 1 homework exercises in this video. We're going to continue where we left off last time. If you remember, we worked through the movie quote Java program, so exercise number 6, and my goal in this video is to work through the remainder that are due. So without any delay, I'm going to dig into exercise 8. Or exercise 7, actually. Okay, so I'm contradicting myself here. So I have some files here, and I'm going to do a little file management before I dig in, because I put the movie quotes into my You Do It folder, and I want it in the exercise folder. So you see I'm just doing a little file management here, and then inside of JGrasp, I want my files to be on the left so I can see stuff. And just a, kind of a little refresher here, when you're working with Java, the ones that have the Java file extension, that's the code. The class is the compiled version. That's the executable component. It's a binary. So it's compiled, it's turned into machine code so the machine can run it. All right, so I think what's going to be handy here, and you can see I just gave it a double click, is to open up movie quote, because the next one's just going to be kind of a revision of it. So let's go ahead and read that. It says, write, compile, and test a class that displays your favorite movie quote, the movie it comes from, and the character who said it, and the year of the movie. Okay, so I'm going to have to do a little Googling to get this, right? Do you guys remember my movie quote? Yes, it was from the famous Star Trek II movie. So I'm going to have to jump over to Google here really quick. What was that called? Oh yeah, Star Trek Wrath of Khan. All right, so we just want a little information here. I think this is all we need. So we're just going to take what we have already. I'm just going to add a little bit of text to it. Okay. And since we're just basically outputting text here, I'm just going to do a little copy pasting. Why type when you don't have to? And then since I know that they need all these different pieces of information, so for example, they want the movie it comes from, the character who said it. Okay, so Khan didn't say that. Kirk said that, right? Okay, got to be clear on that. And the year of the movie. So watch what I do here, and you guys might want to copy this technique. Very often when I'm writing code and I have a set of instructions that I'm working from, I will create comments. Now, did you guys read the section in the book that talked about how to do comments in Java? One way that you can do comments is the same way you do them in CSS. So those of you that have done HTML, you do the /*, put whatever stuff you want in there, and //, and that can span multiple lines. The other approach you can use is you can just put 2 slashes at the beginning of a line, and it does the same thing. Another approach, and you might not be aware of this, is you can also add comments to the end of a line, like that. So you can still have your code and then have a comment after it. My general rule of thumb is when you start to write programs that have multiple methods, and you'll see that as we work forward, or multiple classes, or all this weird stuff that it's doing, you want to document what you're doing. In some cases, you'll get some instructors, maybe other than me, and they'll insist that you label everything. If you're not good at naming things what they are and what they do, so if you use variable names and method names that don't really match up with what's going on, you will forget when you come back a few years later and look at your code, you won't remember what you were doing. So that's another reason to do it. But see, what I like to do is when I'm working with an assignment description, of course it brings the citation with it, it does a lot of good to have the instructions right on the code so I don't have to bop back and forth all the time. So now it's right here, and I can kind of use it as a checklist, you know. So I can actually do this. Favorite quote, movie it comes from, character said it, and you're the movie. Now, I know that this is a very simplistic program, and you might say to yourself, why even bother? But it's more about the technique that's important, because when you have a really long list of directives that you're trying to accomplish, that's when it will really come to benefit you. Not only that, sometimes the assignment descriptions will have specifics like what you should name something, what you should call a method, what data you should pass, and it will really help you. And if it doesn't, well, that's fine too. All right, so my favorite movie quote. If you guys remember, I was copy pasting before, and then I filled my buffer with something else. So what does the T in James T. Kirk stand for? This is how I can tell you're a real Star Trek fan. Tiberius. That's okay. And the year of the movie was 1982, did it say? Yep, 1982. So anybody have any questions about any of the stuff that I'm doing here? You're all pretty clear on how to do a system out print line at this point? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to compile to see if I have any errors. And I just made a big boo-boo. You know what I did? I didn't change the name of the file and I saved it. So now my previous work, guess what happened to that? It's gone. But you know what? It's an easy fix, right? Because I just have to basically delete these 3 lines here and I'd be okay. So don't do what I just did. Change the name of your class first. And now I'm going to go ahead and compile. Aha! I have an error. What's the error? This is great. I like to run into errors because you might run into these as well. Now I saved the file with a certain file name. Notice the file name? Yeah, it's got to match the class. So it's saying, movie quote Java 1, this is the line number. So looking at line number 1, error, class movie quote info is public and should be declared in the file named movie quote info.java. Okay, so that's what we have to do. Now, in order to fix this problem in this situation, I am going to have to do a save as. And notice it automatically picks up the file name. Just click save. Now we're good. Now I should be able to compile. No errors. Beautiful. Let's give it a run. Okay, so that was successful. That was exercise 7. Now let's move on and do this one. Now this one's kind of a fun little exercise, right? Because really what we're doing is what they call ASCII art. We're using the characters, the monospace characters that we have available in the coding environment to kind of create a graphic, a very primitive one. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, when you're working with fonts on in a graphical operating environment, we have different types of fonts that we can use. The basic categories are monospace fonts and then true type or open type fonts. The Ones that are monospaced, every character will take up the same amount of space on the screen. The letter I will occupy the same amount of space horizontally as the letter M, even though M is wider. Now, if we use a proportional font, the TrueType or the OpenType fonts, those will have different widths depending on the letter. So letter I will be narrow, letter W will be wide. Okay, so they're proportional. And therefore, you can't really do ASCII art with it because you can't predict where you're going to end up. But with monospace fonts, there's actually kind of like this whole contingency of people that still create ASCII art. And they use special characters and all this, and they create these really interesting looking graphics. But we don't really worry about that much these days, but it is a fun little exercise to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create this by modifying this file, which you guys are already should be screaming at me. Because what did I just do last time? I overwrote it, right? So I probably should do something fresh. So here I am. I'm going to go ahead and copy the name of the file that I want to use, which is tables and chairs. And actually, I'm going to just type it. And then I'm going to do a save as right away. And that way I can switch the file name so I don't overwrite my previous work. Okay. Try to be in the habit of that. The safe way, of course, to do it is to create a new file. And sometimes I get ahead of myself and try to rush through kind of quickly. So take that with a grain of salt. Now I'm looking at this and I can right away identify that I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of characters. And then I'm going to do a little more counting here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm assuming 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 characters is what I count across. Okay, so I'm making an approximation, and your graphic does not have to be identical to this. The point is that you recognize that when you do a system out print line, it does count the spaces, and it will output the spaces. So that's my X, and then I had, what did I say, 27 characters across? That should be 27. See how I did that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3. So I kind of counted that way. So let's see if I can mimic that shape. I'm sorry? You know, Cindy Lou, that's almost too easy. Where are you seeing the column count?
Right there.
Yeah, see that? So if I'm starting at position line 5, column 26, then I come over here, and I'm at column 53, do the math. Is that right? It's 27. It's pretty good. It's a handy little trick. So I can already see that with these system out print lines, how many did I count going top to bottom? So that's 6. And we know that there's going to be an X in the first position of each. And then on the 4th line, which is this one, we have, it looks like 5. And then I count 3 spaces. And then there's an X. And then I know on these, this is where I want to be careful now, because the 3rd line is the one where the X's go all the way across. I'm totally guessing here. Looks like 3, 6, 9, 10. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I'm thinking you guys get the basic idea now, right? what might seem a little daunting at first is actually quite a silly and fun little exercise. So if you did this and it didn't work out to be like as precise as what's in the book, no worries. The whole point is that you understand that the spaces that we're generating render as output. Okay, that's really the whole point of it. So a character inside of a system out print line, of course, will print, but a space will also print. It won't ignore the white space. That's really kind of the crux of it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. We're going to compile, and now we're going to look at the beautiful thing that we've created. Yay! Just amazing. It's not the same. You are spoiling my fun. He's right. It's not the same on both sides. Darn it. Well, let's really make it different then. Let's put an O in there somewhere. All right. Maybe we can make an ASCII art flower to put on the table, right? Okay. That's next chapter. We're not quite ready for that yet. All right. All right, let's do this. Write and compile and test a class that displays at least 4 lines of your favorite song. And they want us to call this favorite song. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new file. And in some ways it's kind of good to get in the habit of typing this stuff out instead of copy pasting all the time. Here's my curly brackets. And we're going to be doing a whole lot of system out print lines. So here's my lazy typing again. Right, now we got to come up with a favorite song. How many lines do we have to do? 4 lines? This is going to be great. That one's got an extra. She loves you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, okay. That's the first thing that popped into my head. But, you know, I get people when we do this one, they'll give me like a whole song. And if you feel like it, go for it. That's where we get the Siri program and we drop it in there. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. All right, so you get the point on that one. Pretty simple output of text. Now, one of the things that you guys are going to learn when you're creating programs is sometimes you'll write a program and it'll ask you to do something and then create output. But one thing that programmers often don't think about is what the user's seeing when the program runs. So very often if you're asked to, let's say, calculate the area of a room, it might not be a bad idea then instead of just outputting a number to the screen, like 352 square feet, you might actually say the area of the room is, or you might even say the dimensions of the room are 25 by 50, the area of the room is, you know, so provide detail. And that is pretty helpful. And then you're going to see that we're going to start intermingling the output with variables. So we're going to start dropping variables in. So we'll have a little bit of like text and a variable and maybe some text. And then you'll also learn that in the output statement, we can also do stuff right in the output statement. Like we can do math right on the fly. Or we can run a method that does something else. And there's, rationales for doing it one way or the other as you're working. All right, so that's the favorite song. That's number 9. All right. It says, write, compile, and test a class that uses the command window to display the following statement about comments. All right, it says also include the same statement in 3 different comments in the class. Each comment should use one of the 3 different methods, including the comments in a Java class. Now, Ryan, you were working on this last night. So you kind of hold the key to the answer. Because I already mentioned 2 types of commenting, right? Now we got to find the third. The starting bid is you do it or else. All right, and you can see I've got my structure here, and for sure we're going to output forget about all those. Gosh, I miss PDFs. That's what you get with ebooks. If I was doing research, it would be great because there's my citation automatically. All right, so that's going to output to the screen, right? We already know that's going to work. Okay, but now we need to include some comments. So why don't we just throw a comment in right here? And here's the one technique that we learned. Right, you can put the 2 slashes at the beginning of the line. The other technique was we can use the CSS style. Remember, the CSS style gives you the capability to span lines. Okay. And what is the third style? It's in your readings. You can say it out loud. I want you to say it out loud. What did you say? The Java doc. I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. Okay. So how do I do that? Oh, we already did that. Yeah, as ridiculous as it is. That's right. Yeah, it really is. But there's some differences in the way the compiler looks at it. It's really pretty inconsequential. I never use this approach. Yeah, I mean, this for me is the most convenient way. Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully you don't have paragraphs of stuff inside there that you're working with. Now, do you notice what happened to this comment? It did. Why? Why did the line break? Yeah. I'm not sure why either. There's some sort of weird junk character that dropped in, but you see what I just did to fix it? I just went there, backspaced, and it got rid of it. I don't know. I'm not really sure why it does that. I think that if we were using like Eclipse or NetBeans, we wouldn't run into that problem. That's my guess. So it might just be some sort of a quirk that way. All right, let's go ahead and run it. Save it now, yes please. Looks good. We got one more to do. All right, did you guys learn this technique? All right, so in this case, we are going to have the same. See what I did? I put dialogue there, but I need to put dialogue here. Now we'll do a save as. All right, so instead of doing the system out print line, what is the command that I'm going to type? It's in your book. J option Am I good? Is my syntax all correct? Okay. Oh, why do I need to import something? Did you guys read about that? Okay. Yes, and that's exactly right. When we're doing system out print line, what it's telling you is that we are pulling the information in from a pre-written library. It's part of the core libraries of the Java language called the system library. So the print line is already built in, and all we have to do is call upon it. So we say system, and then that system file's got a class within it called out, and then out within it has a method called printLine, which takes text and puts it on the screen. That's its job. Now, JOptionPane is not built into the system libraries. If you want to use them, you have to call upon them. It will import them automatically. So in other words, they are included with the bundle of Java development in the Java development kit, but to invoke them, you have to do the import statement. And as you start to learn to write more complicated Java stuff, you're going to learn which libraries do what. You will never memorize them. Don't even bother to try, because there's so many libraries with so many classes, with so many methods. What you do is you figure out which one you need, you research it a little bit, and you figure out what it does. And one of the You-Do-Its did have you go to the Oracle website and basically to go through a mechanical process of figuring out what things do. Okay, so now if I want to do this, what do I need to import? Tell me if I'm doing this right. Case matters. Okay. My syntax is all correct? So all the ones that need to be uppercase are uppercase? Remember, Java is very finicky that way. And this is good?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, where do I put that? Anything else we need to put in? This is one of my tests to see if you guys read this. Not for you. No, we're trying to get the right syntax here for the JOptionPane show message dialog. Yeah, we can. Oh, I broke it, didn't I? So why is it doing that now? Yeah, because if you're going to concatenate, and we haven't really technically talked about concatenating yet, have we? That's a kind of the technique you want to use. Certain IDEs will word wrap, and some people prefer not to do that, and others won't. So if you're really concerned about readability and keeping things narrow, that's kind of the technique that you use. You just do a concatenation and split the string apart. Am I ready to roll now? All right, let's compile. Good. Run. Yay. All right, so that's the dialogue. And that's it. That's the homework. Piece of cake. All right, so I'm going to terminate this video here, but you've seen a complete walkthrough of Chapter 1 exercises now. And we're going to be shifting gears and going into Chapter 2 lecture at this point.